Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Andini, and I'm first semester student from the English Language Education Study Program. Today, I would like to present a comprehensive summary of our fan meetings previous lecture. This lecture introduces another important perspective in critical discourse analysis, or CDA, developed by Tanfanchik, unlike our previous discussion which focused on Norman Fairclough three-dimensional framework. The session explains Fanchik's socio-cognitive model and how language, cognition, and society influence one another. In this presentation, I will explain the main concept of Fanchik theory, discuss how language reflects power and ideology, and explain why this perspective is important for English language education. The lecture begins by explaining that critical discourse analysis, or CDA, is an approach used to examine how language reflects and shape power, ideology, and social inequality. According to Tanfanchi, language is not simply a tool for communication. It also carries beliefs, values, and perspectives that influence how people think and understand the world. Fanchik defines CDA as the study of how social power, dominance, and inequality are expressed, maintained, and sometimes challenged through spoken and written language. He argues that power exists in many parts of society, especially in politics, education, and the media. People or institutions with greater power often influence how language is used, and this language can shape public opinion and social belief. For this session, for this reason, CDA encourages us to look beyond the literal meaning of the text. Instead of only understanding what is written, we also analyze why certain words are chosen, whose perspectives are represented, whose voices may be ignored, and what ideologies are embedded in the discourse. This approach helps students become more critical readers and more thoughtful users of language. For us as future English teachers, this is especially important because language education is never completely neutral. The textbooks, learning materials, and classroom discussions we use can influence students' identities, values, and perspective about the world. To make this concept more practical, the lecturer explains how language textbooks often present different cultures in unequal ways. First, Western culture is frequently portrayed as modern and highly developed. Textbooks often show advanced cities, modern transportation system, independent lifestyle, and high standards of living. This representation may inequality such as that Western culture is the ideal model of development. Meanwhile, non-Western culture, including many Asian cultures, are commonly represented as traditional. Textbooks often emphasize followage, traditional houses, class communities, and cultural customs. Although these descriptions are not necessarily inaccurate, presenting only traditional image may create a contrast between modern and traditional cultures. The lecturer also discussed the idea of the native speaker myth. Many English textbooks still present American, British, or Australian English as the only correct model. However, English today is an international language spoken by people from many different countries. As long as communication is clear and understandable, the proper accent should be respected as a part of speaker's identity. CDA encourages teachers and students to question this assumption and promote a more inclusive language learning. One of the Tanfanchik's greatest contributions is his socio-cognitive model. Unlike Norman Fairclough, who mainly focuses on the relationship between sex and society, Fanchik argues that society cannot influence discourse directly. Instead, social experience first shape people's minds, and these mental processes then influence how language is produced and interpreted. Its model consists of three interconnected elements. The first element is discourse, which refers to spoken and written language, including conversation, new article, textbooks, and other forms of communication. The second element is cognition, which includes people's knowledge, belief, attitude, experience, and ideologies. Cognition acts as the bridge between language and society because people interpret discourse based on what they already know and believe. The third element is society, which includes social institutions, cultures, values, power relations, and the broader social environment. According to Panchik, discourse influences our cognition, while cognition shapes the way we understand and project discourse within society. These three elements continuously influence one another. The lecturer provides an example from education in society. Schools often place a strong emphasis on standardized examination and competition. As a result, students may develop the belief that achieving high scores is the only indicator of success and that making mistakes means failure. These beliefs then influence how students communicate, causing them to focus mainly on grades and competition. This discourse continues to reinforce the same educational values in society, creating an ongoing cycle. In conclusion, Tanovanchik's socio-cognitive model helps us understand that language is much more than a means of communication. Language is closely connected with cognition, ideology, power, and society. Through CDA, we learn to recognize hidden meanings, question biases, representation, and think more critically about the facts we read and digest. For future English teacher, this perspective is valuable because it helps us create more inclusive classroom, encourage critical thinking, and select teaching materials more carefully so that they represent diverse culture fairly. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this presentation has helped you better understand Tanovanchik's socio-cognitive model in critical discourse analysis. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any question. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.